Today is the 9th of January 2017, and we welcome you to our series, Questions and Answers for a World in Crisis. Depression and how to conquer it. This is the second installment in our series. Today we address the youth of the world and one of the challenges they often face, depression. I meet many young people who come to the ashram each year and speak of the difficulty they have with depression, especially during school exams, pressure from parents, etc. To understand this phenomenon better and provide clarity, we look to the answers from the writings and talks of Sri Aurobindo and the Mother. For further reading, we recommend our website, motherandSriAurobindo.in, which is devoted to all their works, as well as the writings of disciples and devotees from all parts of the world. Here are some answers from Mother to young people, especially students. Question: how to avoid attacks of depression? Mother: do not pay attention to the depression and act as if it was not there. 31 March 1934. Indeed, depression is the worst of all illnesses, and we must reject it with as much energy as we use to get rid of a disease. A depression is always unreasonable, as it leads nowhere. It is the most subtle enemy of the yoga. I have only one thing to say. Depression is a bad advisor. My love is always with you. Have faith, and you will be all right. It is the depression that gives you bad health. Blessings. 28 October 1967. It is the ego that gets depressed. Do not mind it. Go on quietly with your work, and the depression will disappear. 18 August 1971. Depression may come from two causes, either from a want of vital satisfaction or from a considerable nervous fatigue in the body. Depression arising from physical fatigue is set right fairly easily. One has but to take rest. One goes to bed and sleeps until one feels well again, or else one rests, dreams, lies down. The want of vital satisfaction is pretty easily produced, and usually one must face it with one's reason, must ferret out the cause of the depression. What has brought about the lack of satisfaction in the vital? And then one looks at it straight in the face and asks oneself whether that indeed has anything to do with one's inner aspiration, or whether it is simply quite an ordinary movement. Generally, one discovers that it has nothing to do with the inner aspiration, and one can easily overcome it and resume one's normal movement. If that does not suffice, then one must go deeper and deeper until one touches the psychic reality. Then one has only to put this psychic reality in contact with the movement of depression, and instantaneously it will vanish, the mother. And now, some words from Sri Aurobindo from his prodigious correspondence. Depression is a clouded, gray state in its nature, and it is more difficult for light to come through clouds and grayness than through a clear atmosphere. That depression obstructs the inner light is a matter of general experience. The Gita says expressly, yoga should be practiced persistently with a heart free from depression. Bunyan, in The Pilgrim's Progress, symbolizes it as the slough of despond, one of the perils of the way that has to be overcome. It is, no doubt, impossible to escape from attacks of depression. Almost all sadhaks go through these attacks. But the principle is that one should react against them and not allow them by any kind of mental encouragement or acceptance of their suggestions to persist or grow chronic. All who enter the spiritual path have to face the difficulties and ordeals of the path, those which rise from their own nature and those which come in from outside. The difficulties in the nature always rise again and again till you overcome them. They must be faced with both strength and patience. But the vital part is prone to depression when ordeals and difficulties rise. This is not peculiar to you, but comes to all sadhaks. It does not imply an unfitness for the sadhana or justify a sense of helplessness, but you must train yourself to overcome this reaction of depression, calling in the mother's force to aid you. On the contrary, the sadhak should feel, never mind, my aspiration will come back again. Meanwhile, I know that the mother is with me. Even when I do not feel her, she will carry me through even the darkest period. That is the fully right attitude you must have. To those who have it, depression could do nothing. Even if it comes, it has to return baffled. To be always observing faults and wrong movements brings depression and discourages the faith. Turn your eyes more to the coming light and less to any immediate darkness. Faith, cheerfulness, confidence in the ultimate victory are the things that help. They make the progress easier and swifter. The state of depression which you now feel is temporary, and it comes even upon the strongest sadhaks at one time or another, or even often recurs. The only thing needed is to hold firm with the awakened part of the being, to reject all contrary suggestions, and to wait, opening yourself as much as you can to the true power, till the crisis or change of which this depression is a stage is completed. This very important letter to a disciple speaks to all students, especially those who are facing the stress of life, the pressure of families wanting them to follow a path the parents wish to impose, the stress of exams, peer pressure, etc. Although this is specifically addressed to one who is on the path of yoga, it applies to everyone. Sri Aurobindo. What has come across is these wrong ideas about your unfitness, about bad things in you that prevent you from receiving the Mother's grace, about the lack of aspiration which prevents you from having realization and experience. These thoughts are quite wrong and untrue. They are not even your own thoughts. They are suggestions thrown on you just as they are thrown on the other sadhaks, and intended to produce depression. There is no unfitness, no bad thing inside that comes across, no lack of aspiration causing the cessation of experience. It is the depression, the self-distrust, the readiness to despair, which are the only cause. There is no other. To all sadhaks, as I wrote to you, even to the best and strongest, there come interruptions in the flow of the sadhana. That is not a cause for thinking oneself unfit and wanting to go away with the idea that there is no hope. A little quietude would bring back the flow. Do not allow yourself to admit any movement of vital depression, still less a depressed condition. As for the external being, it is always, not only in you, but in everyone, a difficult animal to handle. It has to be dealt with by patience and a quiet and cheerful perseverance. Never get depressed by its resistance, for that only makes it sensitive and aggrieved and difficult, or else discouraged. Give it rather the encouragement of sunlight and a quiet pressure. And one day you will find it opening entirely to the grace. However, or from wheresoever it came, the only thing to do with the depression is to throw it out. And again, naturally, if the vital is quiet and allows the mind to see things rightly, there will not be this depression. The vital mind is part of the vital. If mind, mental mind, vital mind, physical mind, subconscious mind, does not respond to outer things, depression is impossible. The self at one end, the stone at the other, never get into depression. And between them, the true mind, true vital, true physical consciousness never get depression, because they do not give responses to things that create depression.